Mexico digs up over 6,000 tons of silver each year, more than any country on Earth. Yet in 2022, a drink made from a desert plant earned more in export revenue than all of that silver combined. To understand how shocking this is, you first need to appreciate what Mexico sits on. The country is one of the most mineral-rich nations on the planet, a geological powerhouse that has spent centuries pulling silver, gold, copper, and zinc from its mountains. In 2023, the total value of Mexico's mineral exports reached nearly $18 billion. That is the kind of wealth entire civilizations have been built around. The most powerful part of Mexico's mineral story is silver. Mexico mines more of it than any other country on Earth, accounting for roughly a quarter of global silver production. In 2023, its mines yielded approximately 6,400 metric tons of the metal. For centuries, this silver did not just fund Mexico. It literally bankrolled empires on the other side of the world. Yet when Mexico's trade data for 2022 was published, it contained a figure that stopped economists cold. That year, tequila, a spirit distilled from the fermented heart of a single desert plant, generated approximately $4.36 billion in export revenue. Mexico's silver exports that same year came in at roughly $3 billion. A drink had beaten the mines. Tequila's story begins far earlier than its global fame might suggest. Indigenous peoples of what is now Mexico had been fermenting agave sap into ceremonial drinks for generations before European contact. The distilled spirit that would eventually take the name tequila evolved over centuries in the volcanic highlands of Jalisco, a region where mineral-rich red soil, high altitude, and dry climate proved uniquely suited to blue agave. The town at the center of it all is called Tequila, and it still exists today, surrounded by agave fields on every side. At the center of this economic story is a single plant, blue agave, the only variety legally permitted for tequila production. What makes this plant remarkable and economically powerful is time. Blue agave takes between 7 and 10 years to fully mature before it can be harvested. Farmers who plant a field today won't see a return for nearly a decade. That biological clock is not a weakness, it is an economic moat that no competitor can shortcut. But biology is only half the story. The real weapon is legal. In December 1974, the Mexican government officially published a denomination of origin for tequila, a formal declaration that only agave spirits produced in designated regions may legally bear the name tequila anywhere in the world. That protection covers the entire state of Jalisco plus select municipalities in 4 neighboring states, spanning 181 municipalities in total. That ruling transformed a regional drink into a globally protected brand that no competitor can legally replicate. The growth trajectory leading into 2022 was nearly unprecedented for an agricultural export. Mexico's tequila industry had posted 13 consecutive years of rising export volumes, an almost unheard of streak for any farm product. In 2022, that streak peaked, over 418 million liters shipped abroad, generating approximately $4.36 billion in export revenue, a jump of roughly 34% in value from the previous year. Tequila had quietly become Mexico's second-largest agri-food export, trailing only beer. The single largest engine behind tequila's rise was a country that produced none of it, the United States. American demand surged through the 2010s and into the 2020s, transforming Mexico's protected spirit into the fastest-growing major spirits category in the world's most profitable consumer market. By 2023, tequila and mezcal had collectively surpassed bourbon and whiskey to become the second-largest spirits segment by value in the U.S. market, trailing only vodka. For every bottle of bourbon left on the shelf, Americans were increasingly reaching for tequila instead. The key to tequila's economic dominance wasn't just volume, it was price. Through the 2010s and 2020s, the industry underwent what economists call premiumization. Ultra-premium añejo and extra añejo tequilas, aged in oak barrels for a year or more, began commanding prices comparable to fine cognac and aged Scotch whiskey. A bottle once sold for a few dollars could now fetch hundreds, same plant, same region, different story. Mexico had turned an agricultural output into a luxury asset. Behind every exported bottle lies an entire economic world. As of 2023, the industry included nearly 198 certified tequila producers, over 2,500 registered brands, and more than 41,000 agave farming families whose livelihoods revolve around the harvest cycle. Entire towns in the highlands of Jalisco exist largely within the orbit of the agave economy. The agave landscape of Jalisco was also designated a UNESCO World Heritage Cultural Landscape, drawing international tourists and adding a soft power dimension to the economic story. Here is the economic truth hidden inside Mexico's tequila story. When a country sells raw minerals, it sells them at prices set by global commodity exchanges in London, New York, or Shanghai, markets it cannot control. A recession, a shift in industrial demand, or a new mine opening elsewhere can slash revenues overnight. Mexico's silver earnings, despite representing the world's largest silver-producing nation, fluctuate with forces beyond its borders. Tequila, protected by denomination and elevated by brand, gives Mexico something no mine ever could: pricing power. What Mexico built with tequila belongs to a rare category of economic strategy, using geography itself as a brand. The principle is the same that makes champagne more valuable than ordinary sparkling wine, or Italian Parmigiano Reggiano worth more per kilogram than generic Parmesan. A protected designation of origin transforms a product from a commodity into a story, a place, a tradition, a method, a history. Mexico spent decades securing international recognition for its tequila denomination across trade agreements, making it legally impossible for any competitor to undercut the brand. But the story carries a warning. After more than a decade of growth, the tequila market showed signs of stress by 2024. Exports dipped for the first time in over a decade in 2023. Reports emerged of hundreds of millions of liters of unsold tequila stockpiled in Mexican warehouses, the result of producers scaling up capacity to meet a boom that had begun cooling. American consumers, squeezed by inflation, started trading down from premium shelves. The very premiumization that drove tequila's power had left it exposed when wallets tightened. What Mexico built with tequila is a masterclass in something every resource-rich country struggles to learn: the difference between extracting value and creating it. The world's largest silver producer watched a government-protected, brand-elevated, geographically exclusive drink approach and, in peak years, exceed the export value of all its silver mines combined. A plant that takes a decade to grow, raised in a legally protected zone, elevated through premiumization and cultural story, that is what beat the mines. The most valuable resource is not always underground. Sometimes it grows above the surface, slowly, in a field of red volcanic soil, waiting 7 years to be bottled and sold for $100 a glass.